Hey everyone, it's Brandy and you're watching Abstract Crafter. So today's Exploring the Essentials is all about kitting up your projects in all the different ways that I do it, plus some ways that I don't do but I know that other people do. So if you are interested in different ways to kit your projects, then just keep on watching and we will get into that as soon as we roll the intro clips. Alright guys, so I have a lot to go over as per usual. You know me, I like to just talk. So I have quite a few different ways that I'm going to show you that I kit my projects. I'll explain to you why I have so many ways of kitting my projects. And then we'll talk about some materials that we're going to need, some other ways that I know my fellow diamond painters also kit their projects. And if you do something different and I don't mention it in this video, please share what you do down in the comments so that we can share the knowledge with everyone. So I think we'll start with materials that I use. So I have two ways, and I'll show you examples, that I label my containers. So, well, I guess before we get there, we have to talk about how different ways you can kit your projects. So now this is just an example. You could use a container system or something like, and this is just an example. I'm not saying this is the only container system. I have quite a few to show you. You could use a container system like this or something similar. You could do, now these are projects that I have waiting to be kitted up. And so you could just simply leave them in a baggie and not do anything with them. I personally try to kit up every single project I have so that if that happens to be the one I want to work on, I'm not having to do a bunch of work and I can just get right into it. The Exploring the Essentials video that will come out after this one will be canvas prep and canvas finishing tips and tricks, which I know was voted first before this one, but that one I have to do in two parts, and I only have the first part available to film right now, so that they'll kind of go hand in hand with each other. So some people just like to keep them like this and work out of them like this and don't put them in any kind of containers. Just simply work out of the bag and then transfer them into baggies when they're done. Or a couple times what I have done, if it's a small project like this one and you can see there's not a lot of beads, I'll simply just I'll either put them into baggies, and these are just an example of some really nice ones for working out of baggies, and I only do this on smaller projects or if a kit should come with really nice baggies like this one, but I didn't want to use these ones for the kit it came with, which was the rhinestone sunflowers and butterfly that I got from Star Roar. I didn't want to use them because I knew I would get that one done so fast, and I wanted to save these for something special. I don't know. I'm just weird like that. So you can work out of baggies, and what I would do if I was working out of baggies is, depending on the size, so you can see here there's two bags of 310. So I would cut open the bag, dump it into my tray, and do all of that color. Or if it's a lot like the 310 here, I would do whatever section I'm working on and then just store the rest in a baggie until I need them again. Or like this one here, how there's hardly any colors. These don't have DMCs on them, so I can't even tell you what the DMCs are. I would just use every single one of these colors. When I was finished, I'd put it in the permanent storage baggie with a label. So some people just prefer to work right out of this packaging and not bother with any kind of containers whatsoever. So that is an option for those of you that just don't care about containers. Then this video probably really isn't for you. It's going to be a lot of wasted information because it's actually a really smart way to do it. I just can't. My OCD likes doing things. I don't know. You'll see as we get through this video, you'll see exactly why I like doing things like this. And you can see my cat has an obsession with plastic, and so he chews on everything plastic. He doesn't eat it, he just likes to chew on it. And so we'll get more into this stuff in a little bit here. So there's a couple of ways. So working out of containers, working straight out of the baggies, or transferring into baggies, or working straight from the original packaging and then transferring into baggies when you're done. That is some way that I have seen that I don't do. I have done the baggie thing like twice, and I don't mind it, and I'm actually, when I get to, I think it was this kit here, no, it's no, bear with me, I got 3 projects left, okay, to kit up. So this Wolves in Love is only 15 colors, and it's just 30 by 40, 40 by 30, and it's actually not even that big. It's like a 35 by 25. It's really small anyway. It's got really big edges. So this is one that I'm going to experiment working straight out of the baggies, in which I'm just going to cut them open, and then when I'm done with each color, I'll put them into baggies and move on. I'll let you know what I think of that later on in a different video. So the kinds of things that I use when I do kits, so I'm going to show you 2 examples of labeling systems that I use. So the first way, my preferred way, is making my own labels. So I made all of these labels here, and these are just, you can get all of these types of labels in like where you'd buy rummage sales tags or Post-its or Scotch tape. It should be in an office area, or if you're at an office store, you're going to have a lot more variety than this. These come 525 to a pack, and they have 25 per sheet, which is good to know when you're making labels. The round ones I don't use as often. I do use them on round containers and for labeling because they have less sticky on them than these. And these come 15 to a sheet, and you don't get near as many. I think you get around 300 of these. And then finally, I use these, which are file folder labels, and I just use them if I don't have a picture available, like this one, and I'll tell you how I get my pictures in a second here. That's all coming up. If I don't have a picture, I'll just write it out, and like this one, it has 3 containers because I was running out of storage options, and so this kit actually has all of this, which I don't generally like to do. I don't like to split up. I don't mind using 2 containers, so like 2 of this exact style container. I don't mind using 2 for one project, but I just didn't have that available. I was, like I said, I'm on to kitting my last few projects, everything from the Amazon project, and so that's where I'm at with that. So anyway, like I was saying, and what I used to actually do, and I probably have some examples up here, is I used to have 2 labels, one with this, the symbol, and then I'd make another one with just the DMC, and I'd probably stick it on the front. I found that that was just such a waste when there was so much space left on this actual label. So now what I do is I draw out the symbol, I put the number it falls into, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I write the DMC on the opposite side so that all that information is there for me when I finish with a kit. The other thing I like to do is, these are actually, well, with the exception of this one because this needed 2 slots, is I'll just print these off. So whether it has an inventory sheet or not, I find a way to make a label, and I have some examples of that we'll go over in just a second. So this way is, I just cut them right off from the chart, and it already has the DMC number on it, the symbol, and then the number that it falls into. And so sometimes I'll do that if, one, the inventory sheet accurately depicts the color on the canvas, because from time to time you'll get that where, like, this color here is a nice yellow, but then you'll go onto the chart and it'll actually be this like darker, almost yellow-orange color. So if these labels are accurate, or if the symbols are a little bit more complicated. This one's not super complicated, but like what I mean is like this little weird squiggly guy that we got going on there. Like this weird symbol here, which actually isn't that hard to draw, but I have come across some where they are super complicated. So typically I'll only draw them out now if they're letters, numbers, and very simple symbols. I have been known to do them when they have some of these like weirder, like whatever those symbols are. So, yeah. So them are different ways I label. And so these are ones that I just printed. And if they come in a 2-pack, I always print them as a 2-pack. And what I do, and you have to have a printer copier or a printer with a scanner on it. So what I do is I paper clip them together. I put a white piece of paper over it if they have a clear cover, so that I'm not wasting ink on that entire, like you can see here on the bottom, the paper didn't quite cover, because that will waste a lot of ink. And so these are the 2-packs that I have just kitted up. And now like this one is a beautiful representation, and so I already kitted this project, but not this one. So I'll probably use these labels. They didn't come with DMCs, but they have them on the bag themselves. So that would be an instance where I just make up an extra label and put it on there with it. Whatever the DMC is off of the actual bags that the drills come in. Now these ones are taken at normal. No, this is taken at like normal view, so I didn't blow it up or anything. But with this one I changed. You can do it one of two ways. Some printers let you do this. You can go in and adjust the size. I adjusted it to 150% versus the normal fit to page or actual size, so that, because these were so small, they were so hard to see, kind of like this one, which is the woodpecker one from Gravity. This is the actual size of the chart, and it's very small. And so then I'll also go in and I'll write over these. And I didn't grab my pens, but maybe I'll do that, because I have some really good pens that if you want to make your own labels like this, that are almost necessary. And I have some other things when we get back to that. And so this one, I just wanted to go ahead and darken it, but then I quickly realized that it was so small that I was making it more distorted than it actually was, and some of them were very hard to read. So then I just switched over to making my own labels, and neither one of these kits actually go to this one. I'll show you, because I tried a brand new labeling system for this one, or a storage system for this one. And like I said, with this one, I just blew it up to 150%. You can either do that in your print settings on your main computer, before, like on the, like in the printer settings. I'm not good at explaining things that aren't in front of me, but I was able to actually go into my print settings and change it right in there. I don't know how I did it. I did it by accident, really. So I always make copies. And here's some more examples. I always make copies of these. So, like, this is an example of, like, this is the dolphin swim from Wotion. And I would still use these. And what I would do is I would cut this out and go all the way across. And I might trim some of that paper out. But I would still use this symbol and this drill if I didn't feel like, if these were really complicated. I have done that before, so I do like using the actual inventory sheets, and this is where I realized that I could blow it up. That would have been really nice at the time. So the ones that work the best for cutting out are like right here with, this is an Ever Moment. This is the one I did, because you can very easily cut the box out and just slap that right on your container. And I might have some examples of that coming up here. So whenever I do make copies, I always make 3. I make 2 for my book and 1 for my containers. Some of the storage, which I'll show you, if I know I'm going to use that, I will make 4 copies, because I know I'm going to need 2 of these. And like I said, I'll show you those examples. So that is some of the ways to get the labels. And obviously I can't draw perfect squares. I have done the circles too, but most of the time when you see the charts, like this one is a round, but it shows it in square. Whereas on the actual canvas, it will have the circle around it. Sometimes, not always. That's a square. And like these ones I know have like what I call the dummy circles on them. Okay, so I know I'm a little bit all over the place. I hope I'm making sense to this point. I get a little bit scatterbrained, and then I pull it all together in the end. So bear with me. I do have some good points. I'm just trying to go over the basics. So what I was trying to say is sometimes you'll get them where they'll actually show the circles on there, and that is the only time that I use a circle template. But these are 2 templates. I did put some in my Amazon influencer page for you guys. I tried to find a variety of templates and a variety of price points to put in there. So this one I actually got at Hobby Lobby, and I think I paid like $8 for this one template, which is a little ridiculous. But they are really good. You can clean them off, but you can also very easily rub off the writing. This one I tried to find for you guys. It's from Everyday Mathematics. It's actually from a geometry textbook, apparently. Because when I tried to find it, it kept saying that it was included with this textbook, and the cheapest I could find, the textbook, was $20. So I didn't include this one on my influencer page. But all I really use are these squares here, and depending on what labels I use. So like with these ones, you can see I typically use this bigger one because I can get it on there with enough space on either side to write the other information. Sometimes, if it doesn't have DMCs, I'll just go ahead and use this bigger one. And then the smaller one, this is the one I typically used when I first started, but it was so much wasted space. So now I can get 2 of these smaller squares on there, and I'll use those for I might have some examples of what I use those for, but I'm not really sure offhand. Actually, I know I do. And then if I use the circles, I'll use this bigger square because it takes up the most space. I mean, you could use the smaller ones, but I don't know. I find it's harder to get them centered on there, and my OCD doesn't like it when I am off center. So I did put a couple of different templates on my Amazon influencer page for you, but honestly, I use the squares more, and sometimes I wish I had a variety of squares. But there is a template package. I'll see if I can put a picture over the screen while I'm talking right now. I do like this template package because sometimes you come across those symbols that are a little bit harder to draw. They might be triangles, or they might be a circle within the circle, and this template variety pack works so nice for that. So now that we've talked about some of the materials we'll need so that I don't have to repeat myself, when I refer to these things, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we're going to start with, and I'll tell you where you can get all of these things. I got some of them from Amazon. Most of them I bought directly at the store. So let's get that stuff off screen. So starting with this one, I did an unboxing of this one at the beginning of the year, and I bought a 3-pack of these, and I really do like these ones, but each container can only hold 4. Sometimes you can get 5 in there. I guess it depends. Like with rounds, you can get 5 bags in there. With squares, I find I'm really pushing it if I try to do more than 4. So like if a thing had maybe 9 bags, I could probably do 2 containers and it would basically equate to 4.5 bags each. So you can do that. And this is also an example of making my own labels. And this is one of my favorite ways to do smaller kits. And I actually also, this one doesn't have it, but usually, I think this one, I don't know why I didn't do it, honestly. I'm kind of a little bit dumbfounded. But usually, and I have some examples of this with my other kits, I'll put a label on the inside because when you have it open, you kind of have to rely on what's around it, or you have to close it to see. So I'll typically put a label on the inside here. If I don't put one there, then I'll put it on the front. Somewhere where I can see it on both when it's open and when it's closed. And I know I have some examples of that. But this is one of my favorites. This is especially good for traveling, if you're taking a diamond painting for traveling. Because these containers, you can't just like flip them up. You have to actually push in on it and then flip it up for it to work. But as you can see, I have dryer sheets in there because they are very staticky the first couple of times that you use these. So, these I love a lot. These are probably one of my top 3 ways of recommended storage for drills. And this one, at the time my printer was out of ink and I didn't want to wait, so this one does not have a picture. And since we're right here anyway, another way of storage are these little containers. And I actually have some empty ones to show you. Hold on. These, before we get into this, I bought these all on Amazon. I have not seen these anywhere else. Sometimes you can get these in toolkits. Sometimes you can just buy them on their own. And I have actually seen these very rarely, and I couldn't even name one off the top of my head. I have seen these come with kits, certain kits. I'm trying to think if that's actually how I got this, the first one. No, it's not. So this is what the stack looks like empty for these ones. I bought a few of these at, I think it was Michael's. Might have been Hobby Lobby, but you can find these in the jewelry section where like all the beads and stuff are. That's where I find a lot of my storage actually, is in the jewelry making area where you can buy like the beads and stones and stuff for jewelry making. Usually it's on the bottom shelf. Sometimes stores will have their own section where they keep the storage, and sometimes you just find them on the end caps or the little displays that they keep on the end caps. And these are nice because you can make the stacks as long as you want. You just have to take the cover off of one, but I don't really do that. One, it's kind of weird to store since it rolls. It doesn't have any flat sides. And 2, the higher you go, the more unstable it becomes. Especially if you're like me and you don't put the fuller ones toward the bottom. I like to try to keep them in order. Though these aren't in order, I went the ones that could fit in these containers I put in here. The ones that didn't went into these kind of containers. That's why I have 2. So, and then the other thing is when you start combining them, then you have these extra lids. And yeah, you could throw them away, but I don't always find that makes sense. Now, as you can see, there is an extra one on this one and on this one. So I did add one more to the bottom of these because I didn't want to have a full stack with just 2 filled. So I did take 2 off and add on, which is the nice thing about these, is that they are customizable. And if you wanted, you could just have one container, but then you have this big space in the bottom there. And that might not bother some people, but I don't like it personally. And so then, if I have multiple spots where I'm putting my drills for one kit, and the only reason I was super comfortable with this is because I was going to be doing it next. So it doesn't bother me. If I don't plan on doing it for a while, I will just wait until I have the right storage available. But I will, you can see here it says Dolphin Swim 1 of 3, Dolphin Swim 2 of 3, Dolphin Swim 3 of 3, so that I know where these go. You don't really have to put 2 of or 3 of. You could just simply do 1, 2, 3. I just did that so I knew that there's 3 containers. So we got them guys. Now, my favorite way of storage are these Tic Tac containers, and they can hold a lot. I don't have offhand exactly how many because I've never actually done the standard 200 into these containers. It's typically always the pre-weighed bags that I use for these. But again, this is the example of me just cutting apart an inventory sheet that I made a copy of. And it was pretty light, so I just wrote over the top of it. When I break for the splitting of the clips, I will go grab the markers that I use for writing the white on there because it was hard to see, so I went over it focus with a white pen, and some of them won't write over this. It'll just be see-through and you won't get any color out of it. So that's why certain ones are better than others, and I have some prices for them too. So anyway, back to the Tic Tac containers. These ones, the only thing I don't like about them is that if you store all of them upright like this, then you kind of get this weird, like, I don't know, it doesn't look good. It looks, I don't know, and they don't quite fit all the tops. They're a lot tighter in there. Like, I'll just flip these ones upside down and show you. And so when I know that the ones are going to be upside down, I do put the labels on upside down so they're right side up in the tray. But when you have them all right side up, then you can see the bottoms kind of pinch in and the tops are really tight. And I find that they can be harder to get in and out. And then this is where I put a picture of the kit that goes on there. When I can, I would always prefer to do this rather than write it on there. Obviously, you're going to have a quicker mental response with a visual rather than a written. But so this is one way, my favorite way to kit projects, and I call them the Tic Tac Containers because they simply flip open like Tic Tacs and you just can pour them out like this. When you're filling or emptying them, the top does pop off. It doesn't pop off easily, so you don't have to worry about them falling off while you're working. At least I haven't had that happen yet. Up until recently, I thought you could only get these in the 24 count, so they had kind of dropped on my list for a while. But I don't know about Amazon, but on AliExpress, you can get those in bigger counts, and I'll verify that in just a second. My clip is going to end, so I'm going to end it so it doesn't cut me off. So it'll be a split second for you, but I'll be back in a minute. Told you it'd only be a split second. I did a lot of work in that split second. So I went onto AliExpress. You can get these in 24 count, 42 count, and 64 count. I can't recommend a store per se. I'll see which ones between this recording and when I actually post it. I'll do a little bit of research and put a few down in the description box from AliExpress. Anything that I recommend from Amazon will be linked in my influencer page, and if I can't direct you to any of the materials that I talk about online, I'll tell you where you can buy them in the video, of course. To backtrack just a teeny tiny bit, so we can talk about the best material that I forgot about. Besides markers, for drawing these, really permanent markers are going to be your best bet. Or I don't recommend Crayola because they bleed heavily when you go to write over them if you use the pens that I'm recommending. If you're using Crayolas over Crayolas, then it's just fine. If you don't want to invest in a white marker, then you almost have to leave an outline of the shape. So if I was drawing this arrow, I would color everything, but I'd leave a blank space of an arrow. Not ideal. You could just write it in black too, but you'd have to just keep a mental note that or be able to easily differentiate that. But okay, well, I didn't mean to grab this purple pen, but this pen gear I noticed has a lot of off colors. And this is a Walmart brand pen. They're fine liner felt tip pens, and they look like this on the tip. You can find a lot of really good off colors, which tends to be pretty common in diamond painting, kind of like this brown color here, and there's a weird gray and something else. I prefer Sharpies, regular Sharpies, not the fine point, because they don't do as well. Sharpies, you can usually find a good sale on those. I know Target has a big box of them right now, and you don't always have to be exact on the coloring. When I first started, all I did was make sure it was in the same color family. So if it was green, I just used a green marker. It doesn't have to be exact. You're mostly just needing the symbol, and so if it's close, that's really good. The best markers besides Sharpies I find are these Staedtlers. I don't really know how to say that, if it's Staedtler or Staedtler. I don't know. Forgive me. But these are amazing pens. I started with just this simple 6-pack because these work really good for outlining and they don't bleed. And you can get a nice color variety. I bought a 32 or a 36-pack. I can't remember. I'll put some in my Amazon influencer page. of the ones that I use, and I love them. They have a lot of amazing colors. They work really well for making labels, and even though they're fine liners, you can color pretty well with them. Plus, if you do coloring books, these are amazing pens for coloring books. I don't find that it matters if you get 3mm, 5mm, or 7mm, point 3, 0.5, and 0.7. I find I actually prefer the smaller because I have a little bit more control, but ultimately it doesn't really matter. I have all sizes and they all work just fine for me. So as far as putting the actual labels in, I do use an ultra fine Sharpie, but I don't really like the results. I just like how dark it is. The black from the Staedtler brand works just fine too for doing all of the black lettering. I just picked these Sharpie paint markers up. They're oil-based. There is another brand out there that I actually just threw away because it was so terrible. The tip kept falling out and it was leaking. I wish I would have kept it so I could tell you. I've just started using these. I'm not 100% sure if I like them yet. I thought being oil-based they would work a little better. But overall, these are jelly rolls. You can buy these in 3-packs and 5-packs, I believe. These work so good on almost everything, especially over Sharpies. They work so good, and that's what I used on here. They have a really nice fine point on them, so you can get pretty accurate. They write over anything, and these are, if you do coloring books too, these are amazing for that because you can add little highlights and details in there to step up your coloring game. These are amazing. But they can be expensive, so I don't really like using these for coloring books because, as you know, gel pens go out fast. I bought this 3-pack a year ago, or when I first started diamond painting, and I'm still on my first pen. So if that says anything about the quality, these do leak, but they tend to go over. Like, these won't write over every type of marker easily. Sometimes they'll just get a shadow of a color. I'm trying to see if I have any examples. Like, over really dark blues, reds, and browns, they have a hard time writing over those. I'll probably have some in my other containers that I can show you. So that's why I picked up the oil-based ones, because I thought they would write over a little bit better. If you have a light hand, they seem to be okay. Alright, so now that I've talked about my favorite markers for making labels, let's get back to other containers. So, because it's right here, this is the system that I just tried out. So I got these at Walmart. I'm not sure if you can get them anywhere else, but they come in 3-packs, and these also you can get at Walmart now for $1 for the 6-stack or $1 for the 3-stack, and they come in blue and in clear. So I don't know if I like these yet. They're still very staticky because they're new. Most containers will be staticky when you first get them. I do like because they hold a lot more than you would think. They're very close to what my condiment cups look like, which is what we're going to look over next. But I don't know yet how much I like these. The jury is still out. I do like that I can stack them, so that's nice. And again, I got these at Walmart in the jewelry making area. So if your Walmart doesn't have a jewelry making area, it's going to be somewhere in the fabrics and crafts area. If they have them, at my Walmart, they were on a little tiny, at the end of an aisle, they call it a 4x4 or a 4 end cap. There's so many different names for them depending on the stores. But it was on a little 4x end cap at the end of an aisle where they put a lot of like stuff that they don't keep all the time. It's very temporary. It's stock that moves in and out quickly. And they were just in this little cardboard display with some like this, some that were like the tackle box style that you can't take the containers out of. I don't recommend those at all for diamond painting. Even though they are cheaper at almost everywhere you go, it's so hard to get diamonds in and out of them, even if you use a little spoon. I didn't bring my little spoon up, but you guys have seen that in videos. It's just a little tiny spoon that came with one of my containers that you can just scoop them out. It is really nice. you could just find a little sample spoon too. Like if you're getting samples at your grocery store, don't use the spoon, save it. Or if you do use it, wash it up and bring it home. It's the same material, it's just sprayed with a silver coating. Mine is. Okay, so then I have a few more storage things here. So yeah, and then this tote I just got at the dollar store. I think I overpaid for it. Yeah, $2 for this little container. It's not really worth it because of the shape of it. You can see it's very awkward shaped, so you can't fit things in there very nicely. So I don't really like these fancier type of shoebox containers, so I don't recommend those. And these are different because I got these at the thrift store. They were Recollections. And these don't twist on, they just snap on, so they don't even sell these anymore. You can find them on eBay though. They're called like Twistables or Stack of Twists. I don't know. It's got a weird name, but they're by Recollections brand, which is, I believe, Michael's. Alright, so I gotta make a little space, so let's put some of this stuff in here, because now I'm gonna bring out my bigger storage containers. I got a big bag of them here. So let's just pull them out and then we'll talk about them. This is very familiar if you watched, I guess, my storage video, or I think it might have been in one of my haul videos. This was in one of my haul videos. Okay, so I have one more storage idea after this, and it's the one I used for the longest. So when I bought this and I showed it off, this is actually what my spoon came in. A lot of people warned me that they weren't very good because they don't stay closed, and then I had gotten a recommendation, so you can see here how it's bowed, and the beads will fall out of it. I had gotten a recommendation to put a rubber band around it overnight, and that did help, but some of them were so warped that they're no good. So what I thought was going to be an amazing storage container ended up not being so much so. Okay, so here's where I use a little tiny square and I just cut it. I had two, I think I actually got 3 on each label, and I just cut them apart. If I open this, I didn't put a label on the inside, but I did put one right in the front, and I'm trying not to spill my beads. And right on the top, you can see the code. Okay, so here is an example of when that pen doesn't work very well. So you can see I actually had to go over that many, many times before the white actually showed up. And in fact, this blue one, I don't want to dig it out. You can still see how it's not super opaque. That's going over it 3 times. So some colors, and it doesn't matter what brand, some colors just don't like to cover. Same with this brown. It looks better on camera, but in real life it's bled out really bad. It's not really even white. It's mostly kind of a reddish color, whatever the undertone of this brown marker was. So, and then what I did here, which I recommend for bigger projects, is I have the picture so I know it's also on this side so that I can see which container this is for. But I kept this there because I like to have a picture while I'm working. So, like if I'm working in an area, I can have, you're not... If you're like me, you kind of like to know what the picture is going to look like as you're working on it. And it's going to be a long time before you start seeing the image emerge. So you'll be seeing a lot of just kind of nothingness. So I like to have a picture to look at. And then I just kept another... This is my first time doing this in a storage container, was taping the actual chart inside of there. I don't know why I did it. I guess we'll see when the time comes. I had an extra one, so I just threw it in there. So, and this obviously is my Ever Moment one. Before we talk about the Casemate one, so I got this at Michael's, and I don't recommend it. It was super cheap, and now I know why. So, and this one, I couldn't fit all of these colors into the container, and I didn't have any extra containers to use. Like I said, this one's very bowed out, so I didn't want to put anything in it. So some of them are the extras I just put inside of here, and I kept them in their bag so I knew what they were. And this one does come with multiple sizes, so it comes with 2 of these big ones. And they snap closed, which they do stay snapped closed if they're not bowed out. And then it comes with, the majority of them are this size here, but it does come with these mini ones too. I found these mini ones were the ones that really did not want to stay closed for me. I had the most trouble with them. So these were all the ones that were extra. They're bowed, so I thought I could force them in here. Like put them on the bottom and then put this one on top, and then when I closed it, I was hoping it didn't work. So this is the first storage container I ever bought. I actually just finished kitting this one up, and this is an example of that Sharpie marker. You can see how it's a lot wider and it bleeds quite a bit, but then it can be really good, like the W. So I don't know, that was me using a light hand. And this is probably the first label I made, whereas the A looks really nice, but then this one looks weird, this one, so you get mixed results with that. And anyway, I got this also, I think I got this at Michael's, but I think I've seen these at Walmart in a taller version. And with these ones, I put a label on the top so I can see from the top, and then I also put one on the side. You really only need to put one on the side, you don't need one on the top, unless you're like me and you like to be able to see at all times what colors you're working with. And so they just screw off, but the reason I don't really care for these ones, I gotta be careful. Maybe I'll pick an emptier one. Here we go, we'll do this one. This one doesn't have much in there. You can just pull them off so they don't stay tight for very long. Some of them will just keep twisting, but no matter how tight you get it on there, you can pull them right off. Some of them are looser than others, so for that reason, I don't really recommend these ones for kits, unless it's something that's really small. Like this one is my haunted house, and these were new labels that I had gotten with, what was it? It was the labels that came with these. They have like a shiny covering on them, whereas these ones are matte, and they have like a paper finish, so they don't smear at all. And this one smeared after about 10 minutes, that it still smeared. And this one I only had a teeny tiny picture, but I still put it on there because it still kind of helps so that I know. And then all I do is I just wanted to put on there what kind of kit it was. So this is Haunted House, and I have 2 more containers for this. I didn't bring them with, but so yeah, I always put on there. I like to put on there how many colors are in there, so I know, and the size, which I can't really read anymore, but so I do like to label all of my containers. This was the second style I ever got, and it's very similar to these, and it's similar to that 6-stack. It's these ones here that are like lip gloss containers, a little bit bigger, I guess, and that's actually what I bought the first pack for, is I was gonna make lip glosses for them, and I never did because I didn't like the caps don't fit on good, and this one's brand new, so it's not gonna do it, but they can kind of slide off easily. For these ones, I think only the cap has the number on it. I didn't put anything on the side because you don't have a lot of space there, so it's got to be really thin, and I thought, well, it's not really worth it then. So as long as I don't have multiple containers open, it works just fine. At the time, also, I didn't have a picture, so I just wrote popsicle, blackboard, 20 colors. And when I have extra containers, I'll use one for garbage and one for misfits, rogue beads. And then now here is one where I just made a copy of the chart, and this is one of the, not Diamond Dots, but the other brand, Leisure Arts. So all I did was I cut this off. Oh no, I did make a copy, and I cut it, put it on the cover so I knew what one it was. And for some reason I decided to go this way with this container instead of the long way. I have no idea why. I like it better this way. Whatever. I'll probably fix that later. So, with the exception of this one, I only made one copy of the chart, and so I just cut it out and stuck it on there because they copied very nicely, as you can see. And, I mean, the symbols weren't super complicated. I think maybe I was just feeling lazy that day. But this is an example of when I would make the square and then draw the circle inside. Maybe. Yeah, I do. And then I just color around the circle. It's a lot of extra work, which is probably why I just made a copy. And so then this one, I couldn't quite fit them all in this container, so I just cut them off the bag. And I have done that quite a bit too. I might have an example of it up here. I'm not sure. I don't like to do that because you don't get the symbol then, but I have done that just to save myself some beads. So, and see, you can see the AB gems in there. This one's got 2, I think. Yeah, there's the other one. So then the Casemates. I would like to get more Casemates for bigger projects, but they're $20 and I don't always want to use my coupon for these. You can get these online. You're going to spend a lot more. Oddly enough, it's like the one time. But I actually was able to get 2 projects inside of this one. And so what I do with these ones, I did put the labels. Let's see. Let's find one that's not super full. Here, this one here. And this one, for some reason, I didn't write the number on there. I can go back and add that in there, and I probably will, just so I know where the stacks go in line too. So now with these ones, it's got the button on the side. You have to hold that in to lift it open. And I do have the label on the inside so that I always know which one I'm working with. I only did that a handful of times without the label on the inside before I realized how nice it was. I had heard people talk about doing that a lot, but I always thought it was a waste. And so I guess I can even see when it's upside down, which I don't know why you would. But yeah, so I have 2 projects in here because I didn't have one that had this many colors at the time. And I still had 5 extra. So you can fit a lot in each container. So that's another reason I really like these ones. Even this one, came in those really long tubes, and it came with 3 long tubes, and each tube fit in there. So it does hold a ton. And this is one where I probably would have preferred to enlarge this, and I think that might have been my intention at first, was to use these, but because you can see how complicated some of those symbols are. Not really complicated, just a pain to draw. But ultimately I ended up going ahead and doing it this way, so. So yeah, I got 2 projects in here. This one has 23 colors and this one has 21, and I still have 5 spaces left. And this one, a couple of the colors used multiple containers, so this is a nice one. And then if this was just one project, instead of sliding it in there, I would put it in on the side here so I could see what project it is. And always make sure you remember to close this because they do slide out easily especially after you've taken them in and out a couple of times. Okay, so the last method, and then we'll end this video. Let me move this. I'm going to need the space. So before I bring in the examples, I want to show you. So these are shoebox totes. You can get these in multi-packs of 10 for about $8 at Walmart. You can get them at the dollar store for $1 a piece. Or you can get them, I think they're like 87 cents a piece at Walmart for each single one. I don't remember if they sell 3-packs. Usually though, you get the white covers, and I like the colored covers. So these are the style of containers. I actually do prefer this way. Each shoebox tote, though, can only hold projects up to like 36 colors typically. And let's move these lids out of the way. So all of the types of containers that I use when I do the shoebox tote. So there's 2 different ones. Okay. So this one here with the thinner rim on it, and then this one here with the thicker rim. And I do have an extra size, so we might as well throw that one in there too. So this one here, this is a 5.5 ounce. These are each 2 ounces. And they hold quite a bit too, which is why I like these ones, because I typically order bigger projects. And this one can hold a ton, like 10,000 or more. I think I've gotten into one of these big cups. So I only use those when it comes down to using more than one cup, because you can fit a lot into these cups as well. And I do like these. I got these ones here at Walmart, which is the better deal. You get 50 of them for like $3. You can order these on Amazon. They are called, like, typically you'll find them under slime containers is what they're typically sold as. I got these ones here at the dollar store. Oops, that's the wrong lid. And you can get these 10 for $1. 10 condiment cups for $1. You're really pushing it when you buy these ones. I've bought some where every single lid was warped and wouldn't fit on the lid. It would just keep popping off, like the middle was popped out. So you have to pay close attention when you buy them from the dollar store. But I always think if I buy 5 of these to equate to the 50 I get from Walmart, and they're the same size even if they don't look like it, this is going to end up being $5 for the same thing that I can get at Walmart for $3, for less than $3. So I do have a lot of those. I have a lot of kits this way. The only thing I don't like about this is it takes up the absolute most space. So I really go through a lot when it comes to storing these, because each shoebox tote, though they stack nicely, after you can really only stack about 5 or 6 before they become tippy, no matter what. These bigger ones, you can get 20 of these for the same $3 price point. I don't use them very often, but I am happy when I have them. Because like I said, they obviously equivalent to 2.5 of these cups here. So, and the only thing with these ones is the lids tend to break on the sides a lot more often. They're also really good for pudding cups if you're making pudding. The one thing I like better about the dollar store ones is the lids. Come back here, I wasn't done showing you. Because you can see the lids here have nothing in the way. It's a nice clear canvas. And this one's got the writing on the top. The only thing that is nice about this is it makes it easy to get those labels off. Okay, so this last style of container, I bought these more for curiosity because they had been recommended so many times by people. You can get these in the square or the round. I don't remember the ounces on them, but you get them for 10 in a pack for $1 at the dollar store. You can buy these at Walmart, but usually it's like 4 of them for $4, and they have different color covers. I just prefer to keep with, the same. So obviously, if I am worked through everything that I have kitted up, this tote would not hold enough space. I do like these lids though. They're nice and easy, and I don't have to put tape over them like I do with these ones. They actually stick, and they open really nicely. They are tight. I don't have to worry about them popping off on me. So they are nice. I've only done a couple of projects with these because they're really staticky, as you can imagine. But everything is going to be staticky at first. At least in my experience it has been. So now that you know the kinds of containers I use for this storage method, the shoebox method, which is, again, my preferred way. I love doing my kits this way. Because then I can just grab the tote and go. So I brought 2 projects up to show you that I've kitted. I don't know if this one has both size containers in it. This is the one that I kitted up with these. And all I did was make a copy of the inventory sheet for this one, 2 copies actually, and taped them on there. These ones had a lot of weird symbols. I wasn't in the mood to draw them. So I did not put a picture on this one, but I did keep the inventory with it. So, because it was too long, I couldn't hold it in there quite right. So I just kept an extra. And this is also an example of how you waste ink. Because you can see here, I didn't cover it up, and so all of this ink is wasted, whereas I used very little for this one. So this is kind of why I chose to use them. Like this one here, 336. It's blue on the outside, but then it's green in the middle. I just didn't want to have to fuss with color matching multiple ones like this. And you can see all the way down there like that. So this one, let's see, we get 6, 12, 24. You still only get 36 in here, so that's kind of what I was trying to do, is see if I could fit more by using these containers. But you still only get 36 in here. And so this is one where I did put a picture on the outside so that I could clearly see, looking from a distance, what it was. And they're falling all over. Okay, so I actually think I used all 3 style of containers in here. Maybe not. Okay, so again, this is one where I drew out my symbols, and this is what I used to do, is I'd make 2 copies of this, put one here and one here, but I stopped doing that because I never look here to see what it is, and you can see like all the residue from kits past. But they hold up, so, and they do have dryer sheets in them, because this kit in particular was super staticky. But it is really nice to peel these off when I'm done with it from the, raised writing that's on there. And so here I have, this is the main color in this one. So you can see you can get a lot in there. And again, I just put one simple label on there and then the DMC code on the front. This bag, I don't believe, if the bags are in good shape, I would have just cut this off of the bag that it came from. But they're not always in the best of shape. Sometimes you can't read them very well. If I can read them well, then that's when I'll do that. But when you have this in there, it takes up the space of 2, so you do lose out on one. I don't have an extra copy of the DMC in here, but let's see, we get 6, 12, 24, 5 to 6, 27, 28. So 28 stacked up high. And when you do this method, the reason you can get more in there, if I can get this set up just right, is because you can put them in sideways, like right there. So you can get the, 24, 5 to 6, 27, 28, 30 upright, and then 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Okay, so you can get about 35 using this. So you can get one more by using that other storage. So, whoo, that was a lot. I am going to go grab a couple more of these, because I have some that are kitted that are older that show my other ways of labeling. And then I'll explain to you why I have so many different kits, so many different ways of kitting them, and why I have so many different ways of doing things, and why everything is not one cohesive way. So this is the last example. So this is a case where I didn't put it on the outside. I just taped it on the top. This is the original way that I used to do this, and the other 2 kits that you just saw are the way that I do it now. So obviously everything's falling again. But this is one where I copied to the inventory sheet and then cut the number off the baggie to save labels. So as you can see, sometimes I'll do it this way when I'm just feeling lazy. If I can't read the number, then that's when I write my own label. And this kit has been bumped around so much that everything's falling all over and they'll be out of sequence, but that's not super important. Let's just fix this while we're here. There we go. Just more or less so I can show you again what it should look like when you have them all in there the right way. So yeah, if you go opposite, like this one is, zigzagging it almost, that's when you maximize space with these, and then I just stick those on the side. Oops. Like that. And they fit in there just fine. And I'm not worried. The caps have never fallen off on me. Unless, like I said, those ones that I got that were really warped, those would pop off. But I kind of knew they would. And this is an example where I have 2 big cups in there because it's 2 big colors. This is the one I got as a gift from Miss Donnie. So, why do I do so many different kits in so many different ways, so many different labels, when I have OCD as bad as I claim that I do? Why do I do this kind of thing? Well, as with most things, it started out slowly. I used to only do my kits this way, but and since I had 1 of each of these, so these 3 kits were the first ones I had, but I used to store these. These used to be all I would have for extra DMC were these 2. Obviously, that got filled up super fast. The ones that I ended up giving away a long time ago, I used in conjunction with those. They're just like flip off. They're almost like miniature film containers, if you remember those film containers with the black bottom and the gray top, or maybe they're a gray top with or gray bottom with a black top. But they're miniature versions of that. And I didn't really care for those. You couldn't hold very much. And I never actually intended to use either of these for kits. And I thought, well, why not? What else am I going to use them for? They're already dirty, so they can't be used for cosmetics. And I actually quite like it. You know, I like having a cover on them. So, I mean, these ones just happened because I had them. I liked this storage idea. I don't remember getting it from anyone. I maybe saw somebody was using condiment cups or something similar to it, so I used that method. And I stuck with that for the longest time. It was only more recently that I started using other things. I got my first kit of this came in a toolkit that I was gifted from a friend when I first started diamond painting. And then I got this at Walmart. In case I didn't mention, you can get these at Walmart or at Michael's, and they're typically pretty cheap. I think I paid $9 for the one at Walmart and around the same for the one at Michael's. Everything else came out of experimentation or finding things on sale. When I started getting kits, like my first one that had more colors than I could fit into one of these was my wedding picture, and that had 50 colors. I couldn't fit 50 colors in here. I could have used 2 of these containers, but a lot of the colors had so much more than these ones could hold, and I didn't really think about using these bigger containers at the time. Hindsight being 2020, I probably would go back because that one is kitted up with those other plastic ones from the dollar store. These ones, and it's sitting in like a storage basket, like a miniature storage basket. Looks kind of like a laundry basket that I had gotten from the dollar store. I didn't bring that method up because it's not something, once I'm done with that project, I will never use that. I'll repurpose that basket for something else. This came out of needing something that could hold more than the 35 to 36 I was getting in here. Obviously, you get 30 in this one, 28 in this one, and 24 in this one. And so it was either using 2 of these, which is still only 48, using multiples of these, buying more of these, but like I said, these are small. You can hold about the same amount as you can with these ones here. And this one came about because I really liked it. I saw so many people getting them, hauling them, and I really liked them. I actually was very familiar with Casemates before because I had bought these individually for my nail art stuff. So, like, all my gems and stuff I have a different system for that. Imagine that, huh? I have a different system altogether for my nail art supplies now than these. But I originally came across these from that. And if you buy these just as the row, you can get bigger ones than these ones. So that is always an option. I would like to get more like this one. So either I'll wait for a sale on them or I'll use coupons. Whatever way I do it, eventually I would like all my storage to switch out of these containers here and into something like this. I will never get more of this one because of how warped it was, how hard it was to get some of them to not be warped, And even at that, many of them still are. So a lot of it came from experimentation. I love drawing my own labels, and I like having the round ones for the round containers, and I like having the rectangle ones for the rectangle containers. So that's why I started buying multiple sizes of labels, because I like them to match. And that started before I used these as kits. It started with storage. So I never intended on drawing my own labels, but I was doing a lot of diamond dots, and when I started getting multiple kits, I guess something we didn't talk about is another common way to store projects is just keeping them in their box. So many people do this. It's not uncommon at all to keep your kits in here. This is one I destashed, and just keeping everything right in the box. So you pull it out, and I don't want to move my table with all this stuff. So you pull it out, and all your stuff is still inside. It's a complete kit. It's labeled with the proper project on there. And in some cases, people will take the inventory sheets out if it doesn't have a picture on the box, like this one doesn't, and they'll put a picture on the box. I've seen that many times. People do keeping storage just this way. If you have the space, that's great. I like I said in the very beginning of this very long video, I like having everything kitted up. So I don't know what I'm going to be in the mood to do when I'm done. I don't go in order of the date I ordered them. I don't go oldest to newest. Sometimes I jump around. If I'm not sure what I want to do, I'll go back to my oldest one. But either way, then I don't have to spend the time. All I gotta do... Sorry about that. I just got a notification of something. Anyway, all I have to do literally is look for whatever container. For the most part, I already know what container it's in. You spend so much time doing this that you get to know it. Another reason I like kitting it up, well, for one, I like to see the colors. I like to look at the colors, see what they look like, get familiar with them. To me, diamond painting is so much more than just putting drills on canvas. I absolutely love this part of it, putting them into kits. I like, when I'm finished with it, putting the kits away and organizing all the extra drills. I like everything about it. It speaks to my OCD on so many levels. So for some people, this is a waste of time. I get it. I totally get it. Stick with a simplistic system like this, or use the hanger system that I use and just keep your drills in. You don't even have to use baggies. I think I have, yeah. Keep them in the original packaging. I mean, you're going to save a lot of money on extra supplies, and then you don't even have to buy labels. You could buy anything, a piece of paper with tape on it, and you could just stick what the name of it is on there. Or some people just go by this code. It has the code right on there, ZT 2003-01. It would be the same code on your canvas. So you don't have to go to any extra lengths to do any of this. So I don't know if I have a copy of that here. I might have covered it up when I printed it, which I did. So this is the lion quote, but right next to where the paper is, underneath this paper, would be the code. It would be the same ZT 2003-01. It is on the canvas itself. So there, you don't have to go to the extremes that I have went to in this video. This is just what I like to do. And I made this video for people who also like to kit up their projects. If you don't want to kit every single one you have, that's perfectly fine. I don't even recommend you do that. It's my preference to do so. I like to play with the drills. I like to organize them. I like to kit them up. I like to have fun deciding which container to use, depending on the color. And I like having multiple different containers. I mean, ultimately, I'm doing the same thing on each one, whether it be with round or rectangle. Ultimately, I'm either drawing out the labels or I'm printing them off the inventory sheets and cutting them apart like here. Either way I do it, I enjoy it a lot. I have so much fun doing it. Like I said, to me, it's all a part of the experience. You don't have to go to these extremes. I know I have a lot going on here. I also do a lot of this because I'm a YouTuber, and I buy this stuff to review for you guys so that you have more options as to what's out there so you can develop your own system. In an ideal world, I would just use Tic Tac Containers or Casemates. And now that I know I can get bigger size Tic Tac containers, I'll order some so that we can review those together. I know I'm not like most people in this way, and I am okay with that. In fact, I embrace that. So I hope you didn't watch all the way through this video just to criticize me on my storage, because if you did, you will be blocked, because I gave you fair warning at the beginning of the video. It's something that I cannot control. OCD is a recognized disease. I was diagnosed with it probably about 15 years ago, and I was diagnosed with the perfectionism aspect of it about 5 years ago. And organizing is part of my OCD. So I am most relaxed when I can organize, and doing this is part of that. Having a bag like this sitting around with a bunch of kits in it that are just sitting like this, anything could happen to those. Anything could happen to the containers too, but like I said, look at my cat's been chewing on this, and that extends to, I just kitted up the haunted house because the bags that were at the end toward this, he had just gnawed on them, and so I could have lost a lot of drills. So to me, I feel more in control this way. So I can understand if this is excessive to you, this isn't your style. I get it. I understand. This is more for your entertainment, which is why I did this video. It was to give you some options. If you only want to have a few kitted up, if you want to go in order and you want to do them as, you want to kit your projects as you're doing them, there's nothing wrong with that either. I embrace everybody's style. I want to know if there's something else that you do that I don't. Please explain it to me, but explain it to me in enough detail. Talk to me like I'm a 3-year-old when you explain it to me, because text is so hard to convey. Sometimes I also want to mention, if I'm responding to you, please know that I am not a vindictive or a crabby or an evil person. I don't comment with any ill will. It might come off dry because text does not convey tone. I just want to reiterate that. I'll try to make sure I put smiley faces and hearts in there so you can understand that my tone is as it is in my videos. So anyway, now that I've gave you that little speech and you can understand, I can't even begin to explain to you why my brain says I need to do this. I did the best I could in explaining it to you here, but it's been a long video. My throat's getting sore and dry. I need to go have about 20 cups of coffee and film another video. So with that, guys, I will let you go. Have an awesome day. Have fun diamond painting. Have fun crafting. Have fun doing whatever it is that makes you happy. I love you, friends, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, and forgive my ratchet nail polish job. I'm about to do it. Don't you worry. Bye.